My name is Elias Ward, and I used to think the strangest thing about my life was that I had an office job on a space station orbiting a gas giant. I used to think routine kept me grounded. Wake up, file reports, calibrate probes, drink recycled coffee, sleep.
Repeat.
That was before I found her. Or rather, before she found me. It began on a maintenance run to Observation Deck 17, a section nobody used anymore because the shielding had microfractures that made the glass shimmer oddly. The place was due for demolition in a month. My job? Scan, tag, leave. Simple. But when the sliding doors hissed open, the air felt charged, vibrating with an almost musical hum. And she was there, a woman, or someone shaped like one, sat cross-legged in the center of the deck, bathed in the rippling blue light of the gas giant below. Long white hair floated around her like it had a mind of its own. Her skin shimmered silver, as though it reflected light from a sun I couldn't see. She looked up at me with eyes the color of nebulae, and she said a sentence that glued my feet to the floor. "I've been waiting for you, Elias Ward, for 1,000 years." Beginning, the space between fate and impossibility. My first instinct was to tap my comm and call security. My second instinct, overriding the first, was to simply stare. "Sorry, what?" I croaked out. She stood gracefully, feet not quite touching the floor. A millennium. 10 cycles of 100 orbits. I counted every fraction. I shook my head. "Okay, who are you?" She smiled in a way that made time feel like it hiccuped. "My name was once Liara. And you are the one I waited for." My brain tried to process a dozen things. How did she know my name? How did she bypass every security layer? Why wasn't I calling this in? She stepped closer, and something inside me whispered that running would be pointless. Not because she threatened me, she didn't, but because the moment she spoke my name, something deep inside me felt like it shifted into place. "Elias," she said softly, "I know this must confuse you, but I am here because a promise is owed. A promise older than your civilization." "Pretty sure I didn't make any 1,000-year promises," I muttered. She tilted her head.
"No."
"But another you did." That didn't make me feel better. The echo of a memory I never made. Liara extended a hand toward the viewing glass. A faint pulse of silver traveled down her arm, and the fractured shield flared alive with holographic images. A battlefield. Burning skies. Humans fighting beside silver-skinned beings like her. And one human in particular, a man with my face. My knees nearly buckled. That's impossible." Liara watched me quietly. "His name was Aiden Ward, a distant ancestor of yours. But his mind, his soul signature, resonates precisely with yours. I knew you would be the one. He looks exactly like me." "Yes." "Why?" She stepped closer, gaze softening. "Because you're the echo of him, the one he asked me to find." I swallowed hard. "What did he promise you?" Liara's voice lowered. "His life." My breath caught, but he gave it willingly to save millions. And in the end, he asked only one favor of me. She reached out and placed a hand on my chest. "Find the one who carries my memory of him and keep him safe, even if it takes a millennium." My heart hammered hard enough to bruise ribs. "You spent 1,000 years trying to find me because of him?" "Yes." Liara's eyes glimmered. "And because you matter." "I'm just a station tech," I said hopelessly. "For now." She smiled. "But destiny does not care for rank. Middle, the war that never ended. I should have run. I should have reported her. Instead, I listened. Liara told me things that rewrote everything I thought I knew about humanity's early space history. Most importantly, the war from those holograms? It wasn't over. Asterisk, asterisk. Humanity thought it had been a skirmish between minor sectors. But it wasn't. It was the opening act of a conflict that spanned millennia, paused only because the enemy slept in hibernation beneath the turbulent storms of the gas giant below the station. The Vorun, living gravitational anomalies, devourers of stars. Right now, Earth had no weapons to fight them, no shields, no ships, no warning. Why tell me? I asked. Why not tell the government? The coalition? I tried. Many times. They silenced me, captured me, studied me. Her voice dimmed. Humans have not changed as much as I hoped. And I have. I asked skeptically. Liara smiled gently. You listened. A strange warmth flushed through me. Then the deck shuddered violently. The alarms blared. A tremor rattled the entire station. Liara snapped her gaze toward the planet. It is waking. Too soon. What is? The first Vorun. Cold pins stabbed down my spine. Just one. I whispered. One is enough to swallow the station whole. She turned back to me. Elias, I waited for you because you can stop it. Me. I can't stop a gravity-eating space monster. She grasped my shoulders. You can because he could. You keep mixing me up with my ancestor. No, her eyes glowed fiercely. I am telling you that you are more like him than you know. The ward line is different. Different how? But before she could answer, the entire deck split apart with a deafening crack. A black tendril, dark as a starless void, pierced the hull and began pulling metal into a swirling, hungry vortex. Liara grabbed my arm. Run. The chase through a dying station, we sprinted through the corridor as the deck behind us collapsed into nothingness. Sirens echoed everywhere and red emergency lights threw wild shadows on the walls. Engineering section is this way. I yelled. No, Liara said firmly, pulling me the opposite direction. That's the escape pods. Yes. But the station is full of people. We need to warn them. Her expression tore at me. We cannot save the station. I froze mid-stride.
No.
Absolutely not. Those are families, workers, friends. She stepped in close, eyes intense. If we stay, they die. If we escape, you can save billions. The logic was brutal. And true. Grinding my teeth, I followed her. The reveal, who I really am inside the escape pod bay, Liara stood before a wall panel. Her hand shimmered, firing a pulse of silver energy into the controls. The room sealed. Liara, what aren't you telling me? She inhaled slowly. 8,000 years ago, Aiden Ward was chosen, not by chance, but by harmonics. He could withstand the gravitational resonance of a Vorun long enough to destroy it. But he died. I reminded.
Yes.
Because he had no amplifier and no guide. She stepped closer. And now you do. My voice cracked. You're saying I'm some kind of weapon? No. She cupped my cheek with a cool, gentle hand. You are a defender. A guardian. Humans always have been. The pod shook violently as another tremor ripped through the station. Liara pressed her forehead to mine. Elias, will you trust me? My pulse pounded, but the answer came easily. I will. Her eyes softened into relief and something deeper, and she whispered, then we begin. The transformation's silver light poured from her palms, flowing into my chest. It wasn't painful, just overwhelming, like standing in the path of a rising sun. Memories I never lived flashed through my mind. A battlefield beneath 2 moons, a dying man who looked like me placing his hand on Liara's cheek, a promise whispered in broken breaths, find him, the one who echoes me, protect him. And then I realized, he wasn't asking her to protect me. He was asking her to let me protect others. The energy inside me stabilized, humming like a star caged in bone. Liara stepped back. You are ready. For what? Her eyes turned to the viewing window. To kill a god. The final fight. A human against the dark. The escape pod launched backward as Liara ripped controls from their housings, overriding its trajectory.
Liara.
Where are we going? To the source. The pod dove straight into the stormy clouds of the gas giant. Below us, something enormous shifted. A colossal black shape rose through the swirling gases. A Vorun. It had no eyes, no form, only a constantly shifting mass of gravitational tides that bent light around it like a funhouse mirror. My breath stopped. That thing is bigger than a battleship. Yes. Liara's voice was oddly calm. And you are its opposite. Opposite. You're not making sense. The Vorun devours gravity. You generate it. I do it now. But it was too late to panic. Liara placed both hands on my back. Energy surged through me like a living storm. Suddenly the ship jerked as gravity flipped, not down, but outward. I was generating it.
Me.
The pod was now a slingshot, and I was the core. Liara whispered fiercely in my ear. Focus on protection, not destruction. Your kind has always fought for life. The Vorun lunged. I pushed. A shockwave erupted from my body, pure, blinding white, and slammed into the creature. Space itself seemed to vibrate. The Vorun recoiled, its form twisting violently. Liara cried out. Again. Elias, you're weakening it. My bones felt like molten iron, but I pushed again, harder this time. Another blast. The Vorun spasmed. And then it shattered. The gravitational tides collapsed like a dying star, dissolving into ribbons of harmless shadow. The storm quieted. The giant was dead. And I collapsed backward into Liara's arms, barely conscious. Ending. The real reason she waited when I woke. The escape pod was drifting in orbit above the gas giant. Liara sat beside me, her head resting on the edge of the seat. You survived, she whispered, relief pouring through her voice. So did you, I said weakly. Yes. We sat in silence for a long moment. Then I asked, Liara, tell me the truth. Why did you wait 1,000 years? Really? She looked down, fingers twisting together. Because I made a promise, she said softly. But not the one you think. What do you mean? Liara met my eyes, her silver irises shimmering with something like fear. A millennium ago, when your ancestor died in my arms, he asked me to protect the future. But he also said that one day someone would understand me, see me as more than a weapon, more than a remnant of a dying race. She swallowed hard. He told me that person would be you. My breath caught. Me? Liara nodded. And after waiting so long, after searching so far, her voice cracked. I feared you would hate me. Fear me. Reject me. I reached out and took her hand gently. Liara, you waited 1,000 years just to keep a promise. That alone tells me everything. Her eyes shimmered. And what does it tell you, Elias Ward? That you're not alone anymore, I said simply. Not now. Not ever again. Liara exhaled, a slow, shuddering release of a burden she'd carried longer than my entire species had existed. Outside the pod, the gas giant's clouds parted briefly, letting a distant sun glimmer through. She leaned her head on my shoulder. Thank you, she whispered, for being who you are. And for the first time in 1,000 years, she closed her eyes and slept. And I held her hand, not out of duty or destiny or some ancient promise, but because I wanted to, Because humanity had always been at its best when we stood by someone in need. Even if that someone had been waiting a millennium,